Welcome to International Network News. This is our weekly global review, covering the most important and verified international developments from the past 7 days. Over the next 8 minutes, we take you through the stories that shaped global security, diplomacy, and international stability this week. Iran, a week of escalating unrest. Iran experienced one of its most turbulent weeks in recent decades as nationwide protests continued and intensified across major cities. Demonstrations that began over domestic grievances expanded into broader expressions of political dissent, drawing large crowds despite an increased security presence. By midweek, authorities deployed additional forces in urban centers, imposing restrictions on movement and public gatherings. Reports indicated widespread arrests as officials described the unrest as a threat to national stability. As the week progressed, communication across the country became increasingly restricted. Internet access was reduced or suspended in multiple regions, limiting information flow. Officials said the measures were necessary to restore order. By the end of the week, the situation remained volatile. Protests had not fully subsided, and security operations continued in several provinces. The developments placed Iran at the center of international attention and diplomatic concern. Information control and digital shutdowns. Alongside the unrest, Iran significantly expanded controls over digital communication. Large segments of the population faced prolonged internet disruptions, affecting messaging services, media access, and online coordination. Digital restrictions were applied unevenly, with some regions experiencing near-total shutdowns while others saw limited connectivity. The measures disrupted businesses, education, and emergency communication channels. By late in the week, discussions emerged about whether these restrictions could signal a longer-term shift toward tighter information control during periods of instability. The situation highlighted the growing role of digital access in modern political crises. US and Europe, rising political tensions. Relations between the United States and several European countries became strained this week, following sharp political statements concerning Greenland. European leaders rejected any suggestion that sovereignty could be negotiated, calling the remarks unacceptable. Public reactions followed quickly. Demonstrations were reported in parts of Denmark and Greenland, emphasizing opposition to external pressure. European officials stressed unity and warned against actions that could weaken transatlantic trust. Throughout the week, diplomatic channels remained active. Governments sought to contain the fallout while reaffirming existing alliances. Despite efforts to lower tensions, the episode exposed underlying disagreements within Western partnerships. Arctic security moves into focus. The Arctic region received renewed attention as several European nations conducted coordinated military exercises in Greenland. The drills were presented as defensive and focused on preparedness, logistics, and cooperation in extreme conditions. Officials emphasized that the activity was routine and aligned with existing security commitments. However, the timing placed the Arctic firmly into broader geopolitical discussions. By the end of the week, analysts noted that Arctic security is increasingly viewed as a strategic priority, reflecting global competition over access, influence, and stability in the region. Ukraine, diplomacy and war run in parallel. Ukraine remained a central focus this week as diplomatic efforts continued alongside active fighting. A senior Ukrainian delegation traveled to the United States for high-level talks on security support and long-term commitments. Meetings addressed military assistance, political backing, and post-war planning. Officials described the talks as constructive, though no immediate breakthroughs were announced. At the same time, fighting persisted along multiple front lines. Reports throughout the week described continued strikes, damage to infrastructure, and civilian displacement. The contrast between diplomacy and battlefield realities underscored the complexity of efforts to bring the conflict toward resolution. Russia seeks diplomatic role beyond Europe. Russia signaled this week that it is seeking a more visible diplomatic role in the Middle East. The Kremlin confirmed contacts with regional leaders, calling for restraint and dialogue amid rising tensions. Russian officials framed the outreach as an effort to prevent further escalation and promote stability. The move reflects Moscow's broader strategy to maintain influence across multiple global regions. The initiative unfolded as Russia continues to navigate strained relations with Western governments, positioning itself as an alternative diplomatic actor. United Nations warns of global fragmentation. The United Nations issued a strong warning this week about growing divisions in the international system. Officials pointed to rising geopolitical rivalry, declining cooperation, and weakening trust between states. The warning emphasized challenges ranging from armed conflict to cyber threats and humanitarian access. And leaders called for renewed commitment to dialogue and international frameworks. The message resonated against a backdrop of simultaneous crises across multiple regions. Myanmar's political path under scrutiny. Myanmar continued its extended national election process this week amid ongoing controversy. Concerns remained over political inclusion, security conditions, and the role of military authorities. International observers questioned whether the process could produce a broadly accepted outcome. The situation kept Myanmar in focus as a key test case for political transition in Southeast Asia. Climate signals shape global discussion. New global climate data released this week showed continued high global temperatures. Scientists linked the trend to an increase in extreme weather events affecting multiple continents. The findings reinforce pressure on governments ahead of upcoming international climate negotiations. Climate remained a persistent backdrop influencing policy debates worldwide. Global outlook. This week highlighted a world facing simultaneous pressures, internal unrest, strategic rivalry, ongoing wars, and rising concern over information control. Diplomacy continued alongside conflict, while global institutions warned of growing fragmentation. These developments reflect an international system under strain, where decisions made now may shape stability in the months ahead. You have been watching International Network News. Subscribe for weekly global coverage, in-depth reporting, and clear international perspective. Thank you for watching.